Alright, so I'm back, and today I wanted to do a rant of the week. And topic of this week, I wanted to go into my thoughts on mostly the Disney Plus stuff. Both the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. And how I'm overall feeling about it. I think most of you guys know how I feel about it. But anyway, I'm going to share my thoughts anyway, because that's just a topic that I was talking with a friend about. And just was like, it's kind of on the forefront of my mind, so let's just have a discussion about it. So, and I'll probably go into other little side series and stuff like that too as we go. But at this point in time, I have to say overall the Disney Plus shows for me have been a failure. I don't think they're doing what they're... Well, I mean, they might be doing exactly what they wanted them to do, which is... which is like pad out in between the movies. Or, maybe they had a script and they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be a great movie, and then they really thought about it. It's like, not really. Let's just throw it on TV somewhere. And I think they're, as a whole, hurting everything, and it's got to the point where I'm not gonna watch a lot of it. I've been actually debating on canceling my subscription to Disney Plus just because it's like I don't really want to watch a lot of this stuff at the moment. So, the first show that came out was Mandalorian, I believe. And, there's parts of that show that are enjoyable. But overall, as a whole, there's one scene in the whole show that I actually thought was worth watching. It wasn't like, oh man, I regret watching this. It was more just like, it filled in the time. I honestly don't think I'll ever watch it again. I went through, before the second season came out, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch it. And I'm like, I don't want to. I just don't want to. But that one scene was when the two scout troopers are sitting out on their bikes, target practicing. Just go watch that on YouTube, and you'll enjoy it immensely more than the show. The show itself, I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't. The best part about it is it doesn't really add or detract from the lore. It kind of adds just a little bit, but just the right amount of, seeing the stormtroopers and stuff like that who have, they're trying to hold things together, but it's all falling apart. That's it. That's the only thing I really care about. The rest of it is just like, I don't care. Come on. Same could be said with the second season. The second season does have the advantage of having that Luke scene at the end. Major spoilers, by the way. Warning. It has the advantage of having that Luke scene at the end, which is badass. And it was just enough for me to tie it into the trilogy a little bit better and then move on. That was it. That's all I wanted. I did not really want to watch any, more of that. And, and then, of course, Boba Fett shows back up in the show, and I'm just over here like, because I know he's a fan favorite, so I know that's why they're doing it, or why they did it, but at the end of the day, I never really cared for Boba Fett, so I was just like, cool. Cool. And that's it. That's it. That's how I felt about the second season. And so when they were like, next up is the Book of Boba Fett, which is the stupidest name for a show. And it's like, I didn't watch it. Because I had no interest in watching a Boba Fett-centric story. Again, it's like, if I had to choose between Boba Fett and Jango Fett on who gets a show, I would have gone Jango Fett. It's like, look at the original movies that they were in. Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back gets hired to hunt down Han and Leia. And, he was the only one to think, like when all the other ships were taken off, like, maybe the Millennium Falcon didn't actually leave this area. I'm just going to sit here with the power off and see if I see anything. It's like, that's it. That's all he did in the whole movie. And then in the third movie, he pointed a gun at Leia. He missed shooting a blind Han Solo. Got hit in the back. Fell into the Sarlacc pit and died. Well, died. And whereas you look back at Jango Fett, it's like, this is the story I would rather watch. Because it's like, clone or not, even if somebody is a clone of somebody, you're not that person, right? Otherwise, all the clones would have just been immensely powerful. But you go back and you watch, Attack of the Clones, and in that movie alone, you find out, one, he's such a badass that they based the clone army off of him. He also fought a hand-to-hand fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi and won. And then he got into an aerial combat with Obi-Wan Kenobi and won. Almost killed him both times. And then later on gets in a fight with Mace Windu in the middle of the huge battle. The Clone Wars, right before the clones showed up, there's the bug aliens, there's the droids, there's Jedi everywhere, monsters running around, and he just jumps right in the middle of it to go to town and kills one of the big monsters with one shot. and then dies. But, it's like he accomplished more in that one movie than Boba Fett did in the entire trilogy. So it's like, I would rather watch that story. But that's just me. But it's just like, okay, so this is hypothetically going to do nothing for Star Wars. It's a Book of Boba Fett, I mean. And you see, and then it's like, at the end of the second season of Mandalorian, they're like, oh yeah, the Baby Yoda gets to go off with Luke and become a Jedi, and then all the fans are like, wait, if he does that, then that means he's going to die, because all the Jedi die at the temple that Luke creates. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So everybody was up in a roar about that, so Disney's like, oh, well, we gotta put him back, so we're not ready to do Mandalorian Season 3, so let's just cram him into Book of Boba Fett, because we know nobody's really going to want to watch that show anyway. So maybe this will make it better. And then they put in the CGI Luke. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I just don't care. It's like, that little bit of Luke was all I wanted from Mandalorian. And having him have more scenes and stuff like that in Book of Boba Fett, just to give the story of, well, Baby Yoda doesn't want to actually do this, so let's give him back to Mandalorian. Just for that, it wasn't good enough for me. I don't want to watch that. And then the whole, I haven't seen it, but I know enough about it to know the whole Boba Fett goes riding in a Rancor. Just oh, I mean, it really takes away from Star Wars for me. And I'll say this, there was a point in my life where I would easily have said Star Wars, the original trilogy anyway, is the best trilogy of all time. And two things have happened since then that really detracted from it. First and foremost, Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, and it's like, that's the best trilogy of all time. it beats Star Wars for me. But also, all the other Star Wars properties that keep coming out have been detracting from the story, the magic of the story. Not to mention also all the re-edits of the original trilogy. And it's detracted from the story to the point where it's no longer a movie that I recognize. Or a trilogy that it's like, man, this is great. It's like... Recently, I sat down and I rewatched all the original Star Trek movies. And, they haven't gone back in and re-edited everything. They may have remastered things, but they don't change scenes and add more CGI to something. And it's still, you could see the bad graphics because it's old Star Trek stuff. But it still holds its charm, of what it was. And I don't feel the same way about Star Wars. I don't anymore. And these shows aren't helping. I promised I would never watch the Solo movie, and I ended up watching it, and I thought it was hot garbage. It was just terrible. The second time watching it, it was better, but that was because I already knew it was hot garbage. So I was like, it's just going to be more crap. And that's what it was. It's just more crap. And it's just like, this is hurting Star Wars for me. And now Obi-Wan has come out, and as of now, I have no intention of watching it. If I get enough people on this video tell me you need to go watch it, I might. But at the end of the day, nothing about that interests me. And I already know so many things about it too. That's another thing about these shows. It's like, it's like, if you don't watch it at like whatever minute it comes out, you're gonna have it spoiled in seconds. And things like, it takes away from the original trilogy, like I said. Like, for example, Leia, recording the message, you helped my father in the Clone Wars, and can you help us now? You're our only hope. But it's like, now it's like, you also helped me that one time when I was a kid, but we're just not going to talk about that. And then, or the exchange between Vader and Obi-Wan on the Death Star, where Vader's like, when last we met, I was the pupil, and now I am the master. Aside from the last time we fought, and I whooped the shit out of you and let you on fire. Like, it's stuff like that that's just like, you're not helping, guys. This isn't helping the story. It just creates more plot holes. The only thing, it's like, I enjoyed the sequel trilogy. I did. But, there's so many plot holes and so many issues, and it's just like, it does take away from the original trilogy. I think the only thing that has come out Disney-related, Star Wars-wise, that actually helps the original story in my mind was Rogue One. And then there's the Marvel stuff. So I still haven't seen the second Doctor Strange movie. I probably won't watch it until it's for free on Disney Plus. I'm not going to go see it in theaters. I'm not going to pay to see that movie. Because I feel like I already watched most of it, It's like, the spoilers. I've already seen all, the spoilers with Scarlet Witch and all that. But the other thing is just like, so she loses vision. She goes slightly crazy and takes over the town in the WandaVision show and creates some imaginary children. She goes crazy, turns out it was this witch that was kind of manipulating her. And so it's like we kind of see the whole evil Scarlet Witch, kind of House of M style, changing all the reality around her type of story. And then it gets resolved at the end. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. We can move on. We got it, and we did the story in a way where she's not just the next big bad. She's like, oh, okay, she's more of a victim. And it's like, it goes into that whole, like, she's just going through trauma. And it's like, all right, all right, I can understand that. And she's dealt with her trauma at the end of it. And she understands what she did was wrong. And she's going to move on with her life. And then we get to Doctor Strange, and it's like the same story, only you take the Vision, the death of Vision out of it, and now we're taking and putting in the missing imaginary children, and that makes her the villain of the story. And it's just like, it would have been better if one of the two shouldn't have happened. WandaVision, wasn't my favorite show. I've said this before. I like the first half of the show, and then the second half kind of goes downhill. But it's still dealing with some concepts that I actually thought were good. But then to repeat the story in Doctor Strange was like, I don't want to. And I know it's a very general plot that they're repeating, but whatever. But it's like, if one of these two weren't there, it would make the other one better. But because they both exist, they hurt themselves. And then, the whole multiverse thing was already done with the Spider-Man movie. And it's like, because of that, I don't want to watch it again with Doctor Strange. It's like, he's not as interesting as Spider-Man. He doesn't have that lore that Spider-Man did, where it's like we have two other movie series to pull from to make this, make this leap. And it gets you excited, like, oh, hey, there's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, there's the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and there's the Tom Holland Spider-Man all together. It's like, these are three different iconic Spider-Mans over the past, 20-something years. You get to Doctor Strange, and it's like, well, this is Doctor Strange 2, and this is the Doctor Strange 3, and they're all the same, character, an actor that's playing them. And we're going to put Captain Carter in here from the show that we just had, so you know where she's from. And then we're going to do Professor X, and then kill him off instantly. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Yeah. And it's just like, I think that hurts the whole MCU as a whole. Falcon Winter Soldier, like I've said before, I feel like start of the movie to the end of the movie, or start of the show to the end of the show, was the whole process of the show was to get back to where they were at the beginning of the movie, or beginning of the show, because he was the new Captain America. Then he turned the shield in, and then he had to fight to become Captain America again. And it's just like, you have, what's his name, the Baron Zemo, he's in prison, so he gets out just to help them for a minute, and then he goes back to prison. And it's just like, it's just that whole setting yourself up to go back to where you were was just like, this is stupid. I don't really care. Loki introducing Kang the Conqueror, who's probably one of my least favorite Marvel villains. I don't care. I don't care. And then, again, here we go to the whole jumping dimensions and getting different timelines and different versions of Loki. And, again, it's characters we don't know. So it's like, I don't care. So it's like we've done this story now 3 times in the past, like, what, year and a half. You know, we did it in Loki, we did it in Spider-Man, and now we did it in Doctor Strange. It's like, and they're working up to it like this multiverse war or something like that. That's the next phase of the, and it's just like, come on, we're gonna have to see this like 5 more times. Pass. And then Hawkeye was just, it's just so stupid. You know, it detracted, you know, what they did with Kingpin in that show detracts so much from the awesomeness of the Daredevil show that it detracts from him showing up in the Spider-Man movie. It would have been so much better. And the thing was that it was all spoiled for me before it all came out, because it, you know, I kept hearing people like, you need to watch this episode of Hawkeye because it introduces a character that will tie into Spider-Man, and it's like, let me guess, Kingpin. Yeah, it's just like it was written on all the walls. You know, the Kingpin was going to go in there, and that meant Matt Murdock was probably going to be in the Spider-Man movie, and it's like, if they wouldn't have done that, it would have been a bigger surprise. I mean, it wouldn't have been a huge surprise, because I think we were all seeing something like that kind of coming. I wasn't. I actually was able to avoid that spoiler. You know, the rumor of the Spider-Man showing up in there, of course, but I had not seen the spoiler about Daredevil being in the movie until I heard Kingpin was going to be in Hawkeye, and everyone's like, oh, you got to watch this to see the Spider-Man movie, and it's like, okay. Again, detracts from the whole. And another thing, I'm jumping back to Obi-Wan, and I know this happened in the Clone Wars too, and I didn't like it there either. But the Sith have this whole rule of 2. So what's with all these other dudes with lightsabers running around working for the Sith? Like, I mean, does the rule of 2 not apply always, just when it's convenient or when it's on the big screen? Anyway, so, you know, as a whole, the only two shows I'm going to say have actually worked was Moon Knight and the first Mandalorian. Not that it was one of my favorite shows by any means, but you know, because it didn't take away from the rest of the stories. You know, the second season of Mandalorian does, and then it takes away from its own story. And then there's all this hoobob around this and that, but it's just like, you know, let's pull him back where he belongs and just enjoy him for who he was in that first season. And then Moon Knight, because it does, while it, you know, it talks about the other characters, sure, but it doesn't focus on the other MCU stuff. You know, you don't get that cameo. You don't get in that one thing that's going to ruin the next big movie. You know, it's just like, it's just kind of its own thing, and that's why it works so well. And it's just like, now that they're saying that they're going to bring in the Netflix shows, and they're all going to get sequel shows, but not all of them, maybe not Iron Fist, and maybe they'll recast Iron Fist. It's just like, just stop. Just stop. But as a whole, like I said, you know, it's like, if they were going to do more stuff like Moon Knight or Mandalorian, where they do a better job of keeping it separate, I'd say, you know, keep doing it. But since, you know, it's getting to that point where it's like, I have to watch 6 hours of Hawkeye so that I can understand what's going to happen in Spider-Man for one scene, that I would have been like, oh, okay, I didn't need to watch Hawkeye for that shit. I really didn't. It was a waste of time. That show just makes me mad because it was so bad. It was just stupid. I mean, whoever sat there, I'm like, Hawkeye needs his own show. I mean, seriously? Hawkeye? I would rather watch a Nick Fury show. You know, let's watch a show about Nick Fury. You know, or let's put Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back as canon and do another season. You know, let's do that. Because at least that established things in the lore that actually doesn't hurt from itself. Anyway, I guess that's really all I got. So, what are your guys' thoughts on all the Disney Plus shows, and what do you think that they're working? Are you liking them, and do you think I should give Obi-Wan a shot?